I'm going to push the go live button.
So I go into the Rotary, so first of all, yesterday, I go into the Rotary meeting, and they're like, can you sign in? I said, sure, and I'm signing in, and the woman's sitting directly above me, I was like, what? Name, sounds weird, Janice for years. I was like, that's weird. Sign in, I walk in, it is a teacher who, was a teacher for me at Alta Vista, retired in like 2013, and she's like best friends from high school with the Rotary Club, like, I'm like, so great. She was so great. Like, I was like, I hadn't seen her forever.
Hermosa resident?
She's not. She's a Manhattan Beach resident, but she's best friend. Everyone at the Rotary brought guests, but they didn't all seem to be guests who lived in Hermosa.
Okay. We like that.
Yeah.
Maybe some.
And then it happened today.
Some people.
Is everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to this Wednesday, October 9th meeting of the Hermosa Beach City School District. I'd like to start with a call to order. Dinah? Roll call.
Board Member Barrow.
Present.
Board Member Gardner.
Present.
Board Member Beauvais-LaMonica. Present. Vice President Clerk Cole.
Present.
President Cluth.
Present.
All present.
Thank you very much. All right. Item 2, public comments, communications regarding closed session. So, as you guys know, members of the audience may address the board regarding closed session agenda items. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes unless waived by a majority of all members of the board. Seeing nobody in person, Dinah, do we have anybody online?
No one online.
Okay, with that, I will adjourn closed session, and we'll be back at 6.
Yeah, I think the mic. Yeah, mic's.
Here, so we'll just have the audio and the video like uninterrupted. And what I want to do is I'm going to download the video right now, just so we don't have the lag. Because like, who has it on a save drive? Anybody? Nobody, right?
What kind of safe drive?
Like a USB, or is it in the any share folder? Because if it's share folder, we can download it and play it straight from the computer, and you will alleviate internet lag because their connection isn't as fast as ours. Would have been.
Why can't you just download it?
Because downloading from YouTube is like not really a thing. It's like they don't have.
I don't understand what that means.
All the video content on YouTube is not downloadable per se by just straight through YouTube. You got to get a third-party app to do it because it's kind of like illegal to be downloading content that doesn't belong to you. But to view it, it's fine because to open up and view it, everyone can look at it anytime you want to log in. But to keep it, to download it, they don't like that. Or you're not really supposed to, but you can. I'd have to get an app to rip it, which wouldn't be that bad. We have an app.
Yeah, I don't know. I have
me
no
rip it.
idea. It is in a shared folder,
Oh, okay, yeah, from here we can download it. So
right?
right
And
click it.
but I don't know what you're talking about YouTube.
Okay, because the player is kind of it's a YouTube player, so it's YouTube at the bottom.
Yeah, I still don't know what that means. I
Okay.
don't know what that has to do with this.
We're playing it from
presentation.
okay. We're playing it off the internet, off of YouTube. If their connection's crappy, then video not going to come in sharp or play nicely. It's streaming it from the cloud, which is YouTube. So streaming it straight from the laptop is local. Right here in the room is faster connection, faster.
But it
better
is streaming
quality.
from here.
Yeah, but it's streaming from the laptop into the room,
Uh-huh.
but it's still grabbing it from the internet in the world. I don't know where their server's at. Might be slow.
Oh, you mean so then download this presentation onto the drive?
The video itself, wherever it's at. But if it's embedded into the presentation,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
maybe that's an issue. Because right now, what it's doing is your presentation is saved on the computer.
So it's right here.
yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So-
It's, where'd it go?
Yeah.
It's right here.
Okay.
It's in this slide.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys need me to ask Eileen to put it in YouTube?
Ask her to give us a download, or to share the video to either Dinah or me.
To share it?
Yeah, to share the
I'll call her right now.
to share the file. Because the file is different from the YouTube link.
Okay.
We'll
I'll
see.
just get her on the phone.
We'll see. I didn't understand why she kept playing on her phone and she wouldn't put it up. Is because quality changes once you stream it.
Video for remote. Can you, she just needs to share it with
You just
Aaron.
need the
Can you
actual
share
video.
the video with Dinah and Aaron? Okay, the one with remote.
So stop sharing?
Okay, thank you, bye.
'Cause
Yeah, you can stop sharing right now because it's just test.
She'll share it with you right now.
So when she shares it, we're gonna download it and see if it plays.
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
And then can she open up in a different tab? That's what I usually do,
Mm-hmm.
is just have it on a different tab.
Yeah, because
It's freaking cool.
I felt like with YouTube, the streaming lag or the quality, because it's
Yeah.
always quality versus lag. So you lower the quality, the quality is gonna, I mean, the ability to see it or to hear it at least is better. But if you up the quality, your video lags and the audio starts to slow down. So we want to like find somewhere in the middle. So if we put it on your computer, that kind of evens the playing field as far as we don't have to deal with the internet speed anymore. We're cutting things out, cutting out the middleman, so to speak. So if we have a copy we could download, it'd work better.
And how come this isn't the same thing?
Because that's being streamed from the cloud. So you're
Okay.
reliant on the internet speed here.
So
as
even
far as
if I
quality.
downloaded this entire presentation onto my computer, that still would be the same thing?
No, it'd be better because it's local. It's in the house, closer. It means you made your computer a place where the video is coming from. It's closer. It's better. Versus a server, you don't know where it's at, and you don't know the quality of service is coming into your.
So if we can do that, then why is Eileen sending it to us? Why aren't we just downloading?
She does. She
Am I
didn't-
missing something?
Yeah,
I'm missing something.
She didn't realize that the internet here is different from the internet at the office, where we have high speed. Yeah, I had high speed at district, everywhere, all over our district, versus we don't know.
She texted it to me.
Let me see if I got it. Okay, this looks like a little alcohol shot right here.
It's honey. Honey. I don't know. It's a little liquidy.
Yes, I can unmute.
Okay, she must have just sent it to you guys because I don't know.
And that would be separate than Zoom.
Let me know if you need anything else.
Okay, thank you.
That's all we
Thank you.
need, and then we can test all we want.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna crawl into the table for a little bit.
Oh, it's a YouTube link.
I don't know what she wants me to do with that.
Yeah,
I
she's
don't
just sending you the link,
have that
basically what she has.
control,
Let me talk to her.
But I think I know who does. Yeah, it's freezing now. Are you planning on any bodies being here tonight?
No, it's like gonna be whoever's sitting at this table and that's it.
What's her number?
Oh, she says she emailed it.
The irony is last night, it was so hot. Yeah, because everything broke. I'm gonna put this through that hole. Can you receive it?
Yeah. Is there
Okay,
Hold
there
on
it
here.
is.
There's a hole
Yeah,
over
it's the
here.
same thing.
Is there a hole over
Let
there?
me see. What's her number?
This one. And so that one. Yep, that's not gonna work.
I told this phone to go, or this one.
That's not gonna work because it's phantom power. It's a 4-pin.
Like we had like a funny skunk smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. Like seeing them from a kid and then growing up and like being here, seeing things change, like, oh my God, you're so lucky. When I was a kid, we didn't have that. It's just a great place to be. When I was a kid, we didn't have that. It's just a great place to be. So it was one day when we're having field day, and like we had like a funny skunk smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. And then turns out, as soon as I turn around, had like a funny skunk smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. And then turns out, as soon as I turn around, Liliana went to go open up a trash can, and the skunk ran out. All the kids were trying to chase it. It was hilarious. Not the mess, not the mess. My favorite part of the day is just walking around the kids, listening to them. It's hilarious. The things they talk about that they think is so serious, it's too funny. Is any of your guys' water bottle? No? Everybody has patience. Everything's please and thank you. No one ever tells you, well, it's your job, do it. It's hilarious to see where, especially like seeing them from a kid and then change like, oh my God, you're so lucky. When I was a kid, we didn't have that. It's just a great place to be. No one ever tells you what's your job. It's hilarious to see where, especially like seeing them from a kid and then growing up and like being here, seeing things change like, oh my God, you're so lucky. Kid, we didn't have that. It's just a great place to be. No one ever tells you what's your job. It's hilarious to see where, especially like seeing them from a kid and then growing up and like being here, seeing things change like, oh my God, you're so lucky. Kid, we didn't have that. It's just a great place to be. So it was one day when we were having field day, and like we had like a funny skunk smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. And then turns out, as soon as I turn around, Liliana went to go open up a trash can, and the skunk ran out. All the kids were trying to chase it. It was hilarious. Not the mess, not the mess. My favorite part of the day is snack time. Just walking around the kids, listening to them, it's hilarious. The things they talk about that they think is so serious, it's too funny. Look, is this any of your guys' water bottle? No? Everybody has patience.
Ian, can you open up the audio on Zoom
What's your job?
broadcast?
It's
Can you
hilarious
just
to see
basically
where,
broadcast this for
especially
a
like
second?
seeing them from a kid and then growing up and like being here, seeing things change, like, oh my God, you're so lucky. When I was a kid, we didn't have that. It's just a great place to be. So one day when we're having field day, and like we had like a funny. So one day when we're having field day, and like we had like a funny. So one day when we're having field day, and like we had like a funny. So one day when we're having field day. So it was one day when we're having field day, and like we had like a funny skunk smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. And then turns out, as soon as I turn around, Liliana went to go open up a trash can, and the skunk ran out. All the kids were trying to chase it. It was hilarious. Not the mess, not the mess. My favorite part of the day is snack time. Just walking around the kids, listening to them, it's hilarious. The things they talk about that they think is. So it was one day when we're having field day, and like we had like a funny skunk smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. can, and the skunk ran out. All the kids were trying to chase it. It was hilarious. Not the mess, not the mess. My favorite part of the day is snack time. Just walking around the kids, listening to them, it's hilarious. The things they talk about that they think is so serious,
And Ian,
it's too funny.
and can
Is
you
any of your guys' water
also
bottle?
minimize the program
No?
feed there? too?
Everybody has patience. So it was one day when we were having field day, and like we had like a funny skunk smell.
Check, 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 check. I'm talking over Zoom just to check things, and it'd be nice if I could hear somebody else talk over Zoom back to me to tell me that they hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. That means that the Zoom participants will come over Zoom. Thank you so much.
So it was one day when we're having.
screen just,
Okay.
Aaron, my screen just turned off.
Oops. Good evening. Welcome back to our open session. Can we start with a call to order? Dinah.
Board Member Barrow.
Roll call.
Present.
Board Member Gardner.
Present.
Board Member Bove LaMonica. Vice President Clerk Cole.
Present.
President Cluth.
Present.
All present.
Great. All right. I have no report back from closed session, so we can move straight to the flag salute. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, I'm looking for now a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Jen.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. Moving on to announcements. Welcome back, Valley Student Council. Very excited to have you.
Hi, I am Noah, Valley Student Council representative. We are excited to be back here tonight to update you on what was happening at Valley. Last month, we celebrated Start With Hello Week. It was a week full of activities that focused on reaching out to others, inclusion, and community building. We want to give a big shout out to Miss Riley, Valley School Counselor. She did an amazing job putting together an entire week full of activities for students. There are so many fun projects happening in our elective classes.
Hi, I'm Chloe, Valley's dance commissioner. In Miss Gibson's Spanish classes, students are learning basic words included in expressing emotions, nationalities, and simple questions.
Hi, I'm Jonesy's Valley's dance commissioner. In Miss Infacino's Spanish classes, students are learning Spanish articles, Spanish pronouns, and how to conjugate verbs.
Hi, I'm Griffin Pitts, the fundraising commissioner of Student Council. In video production with Miss Cox, students are creating mini movies and weekly announcements to show during Fridays in the homeroom classes. The kids are really enjoying the class.
Hi, I'm Presley Clancy Simon, Student Council representative at Valley. In art with Miss Ripley, students are creating comic strip paintings, animal eye drawings, and charcoal still life drawings. Some students are also working on designing a yearbook cover for this school year.
Hi, I'm Mia Rose Davis, one of Valley's activities commissioners. In Miss Brown's Math in the Real World classes, students are learning about different kinds of taxes and are completing a project where they have received a salary and need to find their own housing, transportation, and will learn to pay bills.
Hi, I'm Anha Kang, and I am a student representative. The 5th grade classes in Idea Lab are in one of 3 different units. 2 classes are working on creating Gmu robots and coding. 2 classes are working on creating marble roller coasters, and the last class is working on 3D printing. After 8 weeks, each class will switch. Eventually, all 6 different classes will get to experience all of these great units.
At the end of this month, we will be having our annual Halloween Carnival on Friday, October 25th. Students will soon begin selling raffle tickets and will continue to sell tickets through the 25th. Tickets were sent home today with students in their homeroom classes, soon be on the Outlook.
The middle school student council will be also holding their annual bake sale during the carnival. Make sure to stop by and grab some delicious treats.
The 16th annual Skechers Friendship Walk is just around the corner. Join HBF, friends, and family of Hermosa Beach in an amazing event to supporting our schools and special needs children. The Skechers Peer-to-Peer Friendship Walk will be held on Sunday, October 20th, which is only a few weeks away. Please sign up and join your teacher's team. Register as an in-person or as a virtual walker if you cannot attend the event.
To sweeten the deal, There are some sugary incentives this year to encourage and reward your efforts. A class donut party goes to the middle school class with the most registrations. The top 3 classes from preschool through 5th grade will also receive a donut party. And there will be a raffle drawing at the flag ceremony in October, as well as weekly gift card winners announced on Fridays. All you have to do is join a team and register to walk.
Hi, I'm Lenny, and I'm one of the Student Council representatives. Don't wait until last minute. Register today for the Skechers Friendship Walk and share with your family and friends near and far. On Wednesday, October 30th, Valley students will participate in their first Spirit Games of the year. Students and staff are excited to come together to build community, increase connectedness, improve relationships outside of previously formed friend groups, and compete with one another school-wide.
Hi, I'm Maria, and I'm the Vice President of the Hermosa Valley Student Council. Our first Valley Flag Ceremony of the year will be held next week on Wednesday, October 16th.
Hi, I'm Cordelia, the school president at Valley, and I'd just like to say thank you for allowing us to come and share what's really happening at Valley, and we look forward to sharing more information next month if you'll have us. Of course.
We'll definitely have you. Thank you guys. Thanks all of you for coming out.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Now moving on to public comments. Members of the audience may address the board on any topic, regardless of whether it is listed on the agenda. However, the board may not discuss issues raised that are not listed on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda that are brought to the board's attention may be investigated by the administration and a report made to the board either publicly or privately at a future meeting. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes per individual speaker unless waived by a majority of all the members of the board. With that, I'll ask, are there any folks in attendance with a public comment? Seeing none. Dinah, are there any virtually?
None online.
Okay, great. With that then, I will close public comment and move to board reports. Starting with my colleagues on the left. Doug, Maggie, Kathy. Okay, I just wanted to thank our friends both at the Chamber of Commerce and City Council. Both organizations are important pillars to our community, and both organizations unanimously approved a resolution in support of Measure HV, which is our school bond measure that we put on the ballot for this November. We are excited about what that will fund in terms of renovating our facilities, mostly at Valley, and hopeful that the public will come out and support that this November. So, and we feel really great that our other leading civic institutions are fully behind it as well. So, feel really good about that and hope that our parent community will, and the non-parent community will come out and support that in November. So thank you for that. And I'll just, in case anybody missed it during the student council presentations, I just want to echo the mention of Skechers. It's a really important fundraiser. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's the best money you can possibly spend because it brings sometimes 3 to 4x the money back to our district. So for I think it's a $30 registration, the district gets $100 or $120-ish based on history. Hermosa has historically crushed everybody else in the South Bay on this, thanks to the fantastic support that we get from our parent community, from our staff, from our administration. And so anybody listening out there, let's keep that streak going and keep supporting our schools. So turn out for the Skechers Walk. If you can't turn out, that's okay. You can still register and you'll be a virtual walker and we'll still get that 3 to 4x money. So please do support us with that. Great. With nothing else on board reports, we'll move on to reports to the board and discussions, starting off with R-08-2425, Superintendent Reports. Dr. Wilds.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you, Dinah. All right, we're going to start the evening with the superintendent's report, and I wanted to give the board and the community a little preview of an action item that you're going to see later down in the agenda, and kind of really explain kind of what this is and the purpose behind bringing it. And that's, I want to share about Sprigio. So Sprigio is an anonymous school safety program that helps not only just students report concerns in their community and their school, but also parents and school staff and community members. It allows them to make reports anonymously that help us address the safety of our students as well as incidents of bullying on campus. Sprigio is actually rooted in the premise that we are all safer when we all look out for each other. So just a little data from Sprigio. A tip was reported through Sprigio, and we're going to talk about what we mean by tips, but a tip was reported through Sprigio each of the last 2,920 days. And so there's a lot that we can learn about what's going on in our community, but it's not always going to just walk through the front door. It's not always just going to knock on the principal's door and say, hey, I want to tell you this thing that I've heard happening. But we want to make sure that we are getting this information to keep our sites safe. So how does Sprigio work? Sprigio works by either a QR code that we will have on posters you can use on your phone, but really also works just straight through your web browser. Students, parents, community members, staff, even board members can submit a report if they or someone they know feels unsafe. And we're going to talk about that. It really looks to collect 5 pieces of information. So it's not looking just to see who didn't take a turn on the swing or feelings, feedback around the chicken nuggets. It's really looking for really these 5 big categories: safety threats, bullying, harassment, or intimidation in school. It's also looking for safety threats, bullying, harassment, intimidation outside of school. Oftentimes, school may be the place where they feel safe, but maybe something's going on in their trip to and from school that we need to know about so we can help them. It also asks for students in the community to report tips on cyberbullying through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. You can report tips about fights, drugs, alcohol, weapons at school. This is probably the most important one. Oftentimes people hear things, and I might have heard that maybe Sylvia's going to bring this thing, but maybe I don't want to feel like a rat. So I can go in and say, hey, I heard she might have something in her backpack, and that allows us to investigate. And also really friends who, oftentimes students who are engaging in self-harm, their friends know about it before even their parents or teachers or administration do. So this allows them to report and help keep their friends safe. No, you can ask now too, yeah. Yes, please.
Let's say somebody reported Quentin for having an illegal substance on campus.
Yes.
Does that end up getting declared to the parents if you were to do an investigation off of Quentin? Like, what's the feedback loop that happens?
All of the above. First, we want to make sure it's a credible threat, right? Sometimes you might get a threat that maybe, you may be in a beef with Quentin because he didn't, let you sit. So we want to make sure first it's credible, and then we communicate out to the parents and make sure that they are aware. And, the protocols might change depending on these 5. If hypothetically, in the last 12 months of my work life, we might get a report of a weapon on campus. We're not starting with the parent, we're starting with the PD, police department, and they're coming in and helping support. So it really depends on which one of these tips, depending on who we're going to contact first.
As a follow-up to that, this would be like a juvenile version of doxing, I guess, but what if somebody keeps reporting on Quentin even though it's not true? Like, how do we trace it back to that anonymous tip holder, or how do you weed through?
You kind of triangulate the data. Oftentimes, and I'm going to kind of give an example of kind of what it looks like, what the information that we're asking for. Oftentimes, in our experience, over time, the more you use Sprigio and the more kids know we're taking this seriously and we're about to have a conversation. If I know that, I'm going to pick on Sylvia keeps reporting Quentin, we're able to triangulate that back. Maybe the reports are coming in at 9:52 and we're going to go see what's happening at 9:52 in the classroom, right? Maybe they're coming in at night. So over time, as we see these reports come in, they'll give us information to kind of find out. Sometimes they're anonymous, and then sometimes we'll get names, right?
Last question on this. Back to the theory of like, we need to control what happens within the schoolhouse gates, and things happen off our campus that could come in that is a liability or a problem for us, but it's something that's actually not happening on our campus.
Yes.
Just happens to be students who are in the community who happen to be students here.
Yes.
You know, maybe off of a long weekend or something. If they're using SprigU, does that somehow create a liability for us because that is a district way that they're reporting something?
No, we
we
can report it. So I've met with Chief LeBaron, and so he and his team are on board with SprigU because it allows us then, if we get reports, we can either set them up. If a report is coming in from outside of school includes keywords like weapons, it can be reported to him. To start off, we'll probably make the reporting protocol go to Jessica, Allison, Sylvia, myself, that we get the emails directly when they come through, and then we will report them out to him. No, we're not, but if somebody reports, hey, I've heard that Maggie on Saturday night is having a rager down at Valley and she's going to have whatever on her, we would send that to Chief LeBaron and his team.
Hypothetical. Okay, so
Yes.
it's winter break and a kid reports self-harm or harm to they, her, that another student's gonna harm themselves.
We call RBPD. We get a notice.
What happens if we didn't do something? Because it is holiday and people are incommunicado in the mountains somewhere. Like, are we responsible if we get like a note of something?
We put in multiple entry points, meaning, so it's not just going to Jessica, and then if she happens to be in the mountains, she doesn't get it. We put multiple people on it. Somebody in the queue is going to see it and be able to forward it. When we've used it in the past, the people in the kind of routing system, somebody is always monitoring, right? Whether it be myself, whether it be Sylvia, whether it be the principal, and we kind of do the best that we can. But most self-harms do come at night.
I think if I got the gist of your question, it was a little different. It was more like,
should we?
What
Yes.
level of responsibility do we have for something that's being reported that isn't happening on our campuses during our hours?
It's a good question, yeah. If something's happening at home, what's our level of responsibility? It's a good question. I can find out. The reality is, like, if we have a way morally to find out that somebody is engaging in online and TikTok saying that they want to engage in self-harm, and one of us can get an email about it and forward it to the RBPD to go do a wellness check, we want to try to do that. Oh, sorry, 13 years of unlearning. We want to send it out, and we want to be able to get that. Yeah.
I'm just going to keep my mic on. Stop.
No, do
off.
it.
I 100% agree on that. I am concerned about the level of responsibility that this puts on the district and our staff for always having to be responsible in our off time. Yes, they are our students. This is our community. We want our students to have a place to turn for safety, but that's also a huge burden on the district. That is not district time, and so I'm just concerned about I think this is a good program. I think we should do it. I think we should also, though, have a conversation in this of how we take on that level of responsibility for off-district time.
I'm confident SprigU probably has that information.
And
I'll connect with them.
sure it is there somewhere.
Yeah, I'll connect with them.
I'm just worried about what that does as a burden to our staff who have to then continually be on this. When we want parents and other caregivers and public health districts and PD to also have all those avenues to support families.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Hermosa has not done this before. For some reason, I felt like this was on our. But I know it's been in Redondo
We have a
for years.
Google form that currently is available for students.
Okay.
They can use their Chromebook, fill out the Google form. It's only available for students.
But Redondo has done this for years.
Redondo and Costa have done this for years.
I mean, Maggie might give us some, history of like how they handle it there as well. So that may just be helpful. But I found it a really helpful as a parent just to know it was there.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering just a little bit about the rollout. How are we going to share that with kids?
So that's where we're going to bring in Eileen, our communication. I'm going to talk about that just in a minute. This is not forwarding, Dinah, so can you forward the PowerPoint? It's not clicking forward. Can you forward it? So this just kind of gives you kind of a brief overview. When you go on it, you click on what put in your school name, who are you, where did the incident, and all of these, again, are not mandatory. Who are you, where did the incident occur, when did it happen, how many times does the situation happen, how have you reported this to an adult? So Users just go to sprigio.com to the homepage, access the reporting form, or they can connect to the reporting form to our website. So it would be on our school's website. Reports are sent instantaneously to an email to the site administrator and to whoever else you put in the reporting kind of queue. It allows us to identify the trends. Oftentimes we may hear from parents, well, you know, so-and-so has been bullied. This allows us to actually pull and kind of see what's been going on over time. And it allows us to also then monitor the follow-up action. So then we can see, you know, over time, are we seeing trends on the green belt near 6th Street of something happening where we can able to start seeing it. This is all password protected, so the only people who have access to the online dashboard would be staff. And all of this information remains with HBCSD. So if a student or a community member puts their name in, it's not public knowledge. So the next steps, obviously there'll be a board action item tonight. We will start by setting up an HB account, and then we're going to be creating a training video for students. So we're going to be working with Eileen to really think about our communication rollout. We'll be going to our student council. We'll be working with Monique to set up a time, and we'll start with our student council so we get their feedback. What's the best way for them to learn about this? Then we'll work on messaging to our families, and then we'll make sure we have signage in and around our school site. Any questions about Sprigio before we? All right. So we wanted to highlight staff that don't always get a spotlight on them. So we worked with Eileen to create what we call the HVS Staff Spotlight. Oftentimes, we spend a lot of time, we talk, you know, administrators get seen, teachers get seen, but we have a lot of staff that don't always get seen, but they work super hard and they are very important in the lives of our children. So we're gonna cue our first HVS Staff Spotlight.
So it was one day when we were having field day, and like we had like a funny skunk smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. And then turns out, as soon as I turned around, Liliana went to go open up a trash can, and the skunk ran out. All the kids were trying to chase it. It was hilarious. Not the mess, not the mess. My favorite part of the day is snack time. Just walking around the kids, listening to them, it's hilarious. The things they talk about that they think is so serious, it's too funny. Look, is this any of your guys' water bottle? No? Everybody has patience. Everything's please and thank you. No one ever tells you, well, it's your job, do it. It's hilarious to see where, especially like seeing them from a kid and then growing up and like being here, seeing things change, like, oh my God, you're so lucky. When I was a kid, we didn't have that. It's just a great place to be.
Great, thank you. So we want to thank Ramon for being our guinea pig. He's so great, and the kids absolutely love him over at Vista. So we want to spotlight him. We want to thank him for everything he does.
Good camera work, too.
Yeah, I know. So before I close out the superintendent's report, again, I want to thank Beach Cities Health District for all their support today, for coming out for walk to school day, walk and roll. We had so many kids. I was up at the Big Lots Shopping Center, and it was so great just to see lines of kids moving naturally to school. It was so great. So thank them for all that they do. They made these amazing little yellow buses. And I also want to thank the Hermosa Beach Rotary and the Hermosa Beach Women's Club for inviting me out. I've been fed very well this week, but I want to thank them for having me and letting me talk to their members.
All right, great. Thanks very much. Any other questions or comments? All right.
Sorry, quick. And thanks, Dr. Wilds, for hosting at the forum on Monday night with Beach Cities Health District and the city.
Oh, yeah. Was that Monday?
It was a good session. All right. Next on our items is R09-2425, the 2023-2024 statewide testing results. Dr. Wilds and Ms. Gluck.
Absolutely. So very shortly, probably within the next week or two, the state of California is going to release to the public all of the 2023-24 statewide tests. That's the English Language Arts, math, science, as well as the English language learners proficiency. So what we're going to present to you tonight is the results of not only 23-24, but we also wanted to show some subgroup comparison data, but then we also wanted to take a look at results longitudinally over time. What we do not have is other school districts, because those are all embargoed until the state releases them publicly. Further down the road, around beginning of December, the California dashboard will also be live, and that is also a really great way for families in the community to understand what's going on in our schools. So we'll get started. So for folks who have, especially younger kids, and have not been a part of the Small Balance, the Small Balance is a summative criterion reference test that uses computer-based adapted assessments that utilize both computer adapted, so how students perform. The test will then adapt harder, adapt easier, as well as performance tasks. So students have the opportunity to show what they know and are able to do in both ELA, math, and science. They are based on the Common Core state standards, and in science, they're based on the NGSS standards. And students are assessed annually in the spring in grades 3 through 8, and again in 11. Though science is only tested in grade 5, 8, and 11. Next slide. So the Smarter Balance assessments are all built on a blueprint from the state of California. And these blueprints describe the content that would be tested, as well as the number of items that are presented to students. What's important to note is that this test and this blueprint is still an abbreviated version that was done because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are still on kind of that abbreviated, the computer adaptive part has been cut by about 50%. So instead of it occurring over 2 days, as it did before COVID, it dropped down to still just 1. So what we're going to talk about tonight, and kind of what we've seen, I call it kind of focusing the binoculars. So overall, when we think about Hermosa test scores in relation to scores statewide, it indicates we're performing well. We're doing okay in ELA and math. However, when you look at longitudinally, our outcomes are indicating pretty flat growth. We're not seeing a whole lot of movement, and in my estimation, I don't believe that flat growth can continue to be attributed to COVID. There are some fairly significant variations when we look at subgroup performances, when we look at the differences when we pulled by gender, when we look at categorical groups, students with disabilities, students who are English language learners, as well as by ethnicity, we see some differences. So not everybody is performing the same. There are also differences in outcomes by grade level, and we have some hypotheses about that. Science outcomes are significantly below our ELA and math. And that's always something to really kind of focus in on. However, as a board, before I even came, you all adopted a very high quality, rigorous science curriculum in grades 5 through 8. So that is FOSS. So we would like to see, as we implement that in year 1, typically in the year 1 of any implementation, you don't see huge gains, but by year 3, you should start seeing. The other thing to think about is the science test looks very similar to the science portion of the ACT. There's a tremendous amount of reading and negotiating of phenomena in those computer adaptive part. And so that's always something to think about. Is that impacted by the reading as well? We see some very promising improvements in proficiency for our English language learners. So that's on the LPAC we'll take a look at, and then we have a plan of action for addressing some of these concerns. So overall, spring 2024, Hermosa ELA. This is all grades 3 through 8. We had 77, almost 78% that met or exceeded. And the reason I just want to clarify why we didn't round this is these are the exact numbers that are going to be available to the public. So we want to make sure that what we present here tonight is exactly what's going to be seen. But if you look, we have a very large portion of students who are exceeding. We have almost 43% of our students in ELA that are exceeding standards. That's tremendous. But we also have a large percent of students who are nearly met. Almost 16% of our students in ELA are very close to meeting standards, and that's a group we want to kind of hone in on a little bit. In mathematics, we have a very large group, almost 50% of students who are exceeding standards, but we do still have about just over 18% that are nearly met in mathematics. Longitudinally, we're going to take a look at ELA first. I always like to put pre-COVID just because I think it's always interesting to kind of take a look at. Knowing it's a different test, but it's still important to kind of look at, see where we were scoring. So pre-COVID in ELA, we were scoring right under 80% for students who meet or exceed standards. Then the 2021, here comes the modified blueprint. So the guidance that the state gives us to think about that year is the baseline. So we had a baseline of 80%, which was great pre-COVID. But what we've seen is we've seen pretty flat 77.1, 77.78% in the two out years. Then we took a look, and when I say we, I mean thank you, Sylvia, for disaggregating a lot of this information. We took a look at what's kind of happening by grade level. And you can see we've got, first off, you can see just if you kind of take a look overall, third, fourth, we see a little bit of a gain in fourth. Fifth grade kind of resets to where third grade was, fifth and sixth grade. But then in seventh and eighth grade, we tend to have kind of a growth, right? Or that yellow section starts to decline. And there's a couple ways to kind of think about that. One of the things that we have seen I have seen in my time is that secondary and single subject teachers have a tendency to really teach to the rigor of that particular grade. They are content specialists. They know what the ELA standards are in 7th and 8th grade, and they hold that level of rigor. Some of practices that districts have had in the past, teaching students on their reading level tends to pull away from the rigor maybe of what that grade level is demanding. And so there's some different reasons but in ELA, it's important to know they are assessed in not just reading, but it's reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Looking at some subgroups, we broke it apart by male and female. And in ELA, you can see females, we have about 12%, just over 12% who are in the yellow, and we have 19% of our males. And for me, the one that stands out is really the blue. Our females, 50% of our females are scoring exceeding versus 36% of our males. Special education, we have a discrepancy when we look at our students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged and then our English language learners. Important to note that English language learners, when they score in the blue and exceeds, they are typically reclassified, and so they're no longer an English language learner, so that the goal is to reclassify yourself out of this category. But we wanted to put the subgroups there on the right-hand side. Most interesting for me is that we are a very male-heavy district. And then demographic results, and I think this is held fairly consistent, is that our Hispanic students are underperforming other subgroups, which is something to look at. Now let's take a look at math. So math, we're seeing kind of that same kind of flat kind of growth. You can see the pre-COVID, we were almost at 75%. Post-COVID, around just over 73%, and it's been holding right around 73% over time. Here again by grade. One of the interesting things for me when I look at this is when I look at the grade that pops out to me is 6th grade, and that is the first grade where we start separating kids. Meaning our kids get to choose kind of at levels of math, right? So whether they continue in 6th grade math or they continue in an advanced pathway.
Are you saying that you think that's causing a problem, or?
Yes, yeah. What the research shows is the longer that you can keep kids together in math, the better the outcomes are for all students. Again, we're looking at subgroups. We do not see girls outperforming males in math. But we still have a large number of special students in special education that we want to address, as well as low socioeconomic and our English language learners. And then we did it by demographics. The same trend occurs in math as does in ELA. Important to note, in taking the math statewide assessment, there is a significant amount of reading that has to occur. And the text complexity of the math problems are very high. That's why everyone should be a reading teacher. That's what I've heard. And we want to take a look at science. So science is aligned to the California Next Generation Science Standards, and it really encompasses several areas. So you have the earth and space science, life sciences, and physical science. When in the 5th grade assessment, they are taking, the questions are addressing content in the previous grade levels as well. In 8th grade, they are addressing both 6th and 7th grade science standards. Longitudinally, we saw kind of a bump after 21, 22, but in the last 2 years, we've seen it's been fairly flat. This, we did not have an adjusted blueprint, but there was a field test pre-COVID. So our students did engage, but the test did alter based on the results of some of the field testing. And then by grade. So in spring of 2023, spring of 2024, the English language assessments are students who are English language learners engaged in what is called the LPAC testing. And the LPAC is looking at their English language proficiency. So there's reading, there's writing, but there's also heavy listening and speaking. And if you look at that number at the top, 55% of students scored proficient, meaning that test, it is no joke. I've actually administered this test a number of times, particularly during COVID, and it's very difficult to score proficient. So our students who are acquiring a second language did very, very well. And you can see over time, pre-COVID, we were well developed at the 23%. We had a little pop post-COVID, then another little dip, and now 55% is stronger than we've seen previously. So kind of findings, and I talked a little bit about this as we were going on, but we see fairly flat academic achievement growth in both ELA and math. The subgroups that we most particularly want to hone in on are students with disabilities and our English language learners. We had a very large percentage showed proficient, so the question is, why didn't we see more of them scoring higher on the CASP? Our females outperforming our males in ELA by almost 10%, but underperforming a little bit in math by about 4%. Kind of pulling out our Hispanic students are a group to take a closer look at, and then really proud of the work that our teachers have done with our English language learners this year. So the question is, so what? So now that we've seen those, what are we going to do about it? So flat achievement, to me, indicates a need for a rigorous, high-quality English language arts curriculum. We've kind of seen that across the board. And especially a rigorous, high-quality English language arts component curriculum that is rooted in knowledge building, knowledge around history and social studies and science matter. Dedication, we are now only in the 2nd year of our implementation of foundations, but dedication to strategic explicit phonics instruction, 30 minutes daily in our TK to grades 3. Third grade came on new this year. Because of the visual coding and the multi-sensory approach that is embedded in foundations, that is what research has shown is very effective, particularly with male brains and our boy readers. And so we'd like to see a big outcome out of that. A recommitment to productive struggle in math tasks in grades K to 5, and hopefully a future math adoption in grades 6 through 8. And science instruction matters. And so both in exploring the phenomena in reading science texts. And so I know that is work that many of our teachers have been doing with Jessica, is how can we increase science instruction every day? So just to kind of give just a kind of a larger picture, kind of pull back a little bit, one of the things that Sylvia and the team and I have been working on so far this year is really thinking about an implementation audit. So oftentimes districts, we bring in new things, but we don't eliminate the things that aren't working. And what happens is that it confuses the system, and it can confuse teachers and not really know what is the top things that we want to focus on. So we want to limit the number of random arrows. What do we keep? What do we fix? What do we stop? What do we start? What do we commit more to? Collective teacher efficacy, so increasing all teacher and staff knowledge around the research behind effective literacy practices. Before we buy anything, we need to know what's worth buying. And that's important not just for our English teachers, but also for our other core content. Instruction and learning, implementation, so thank you Sylvia and the team for really working on making sure that our teachers are given time and training in the new FOSS curriculum in grades 5 through 8. And then we're working on fidelity of foundations implementation is in TK to 3. And then the use of formative assessments. Looking at how we use formative assessments, we assess a lot, but how are we using that data? The data's got to drive instruction for what we do. So are we assessing to just assess, or are we assessing to actually use? And to do that, we need to give our teachers time to actually sit and work together and see what's working and what's not. So I did want to share, there is a brand new score report for families. So for the probably thousands of people who are watching online right now, just to give you a little brief overview, reading a student score report. It's a brand new report that just came out this past year. It starts with a cover page with an overview of what these assessments are, what the scores may mean. Most importantly, and don't overlook, at the very bottom, there's a QR code. And that QR code takes you to a very family, community-friendly website that has videos that it will explain this further. There are improved results comparisons. Typically, parents had to say, where did I file that report from last year to see how their students did? Now that data is actually in here. So you will see in a given grade, you're going to actually see multi-year score histories. And so you can see over time. It also then will break out some subgroups. So you're going to see some reading and listening, writing and research concepts, so you get a little bit of a deeper dive into where your students' strengths and areas for growth are. And then finally, there is the back side that will actually give some deeper information into the writing portion. So the writing portion appears in the performance task, and it will be able to tell a family organization, development, or spelling, conventions, those kinds of things, where were the weaknesses. And then it has two really important numbers at the bottom. And we always tell parents, just know that these numbers were developed over a one test moment in time, but it does give quantile and Lexile results. And one of my favorite things to do is go to this website, hub.lexile.com, do it with students. They can actually put in careers that they want to have, and it will tell them what kind of reading levels they would need. For example, if you want to be an electrician, your reading level needs to be about a 1450. So it allows them kind of explore some different careers and different things to do, and what it'll take to get there. It's a cool website. Questions?
Thank you very much. I'll start from this side.
I was going to say it might be helpful if there's like a little video that we can tutorially show parents how to walk through that.
We can do that.
Just because it's a lot of words to easier.
Yeah, we can do that.
Any other questions, Maggie?
I have a question. I know the rest of the data either isn't out or embargoed from neighboring districts, other districts. So when that data finally comes out, obviously you have depth of knowledge from Redondo, but are we going to be able to see what other districts that are scoring higher, the practices they're using? Does that kind of conversation happen across the districts?
Yeah, those are conversations. Those are actually really good conversations to have when I sit in superintendent's trainings. Just on Monday, I sat in a training with another small school district, and we were able to start kind of talking. So once the numbers are out, then we can start identifying the knowledge to increase a system. Usually somebody's got it. We just have to find out what that is.
Other questions? I noticed the gender differences.
Yep.
I did some reading on this last spring, so it's like a little hobby topic.
Yep.
Those patterns look similar to what I'd read about, but I don't know kind of to what it. The question I always ask with these numbers is like, what's good look like? You don't expect 100% of your students to be above level. Right. So, with regard to those gender splits, that looks kind of directionally normal, that boys are doing less well in English and slightly better in math.
Yeah.
Are we right in the middle of that pattern? Are we exceeding it? Are we,
we're meeting the pattern.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can accept the pattern.
Well, yeah, it doesn't, it's not an excuse for
right.
it. Right.
And so a lot of the work in the research, when you really look at effective literacy practices, what we have been doing for 20 years really doesn't lend itself to how boys learn to read. What the research shows, they tend to be a lot more visual. You know, the boys, what's why the, the graphic novels tend to be very, very popular with some of our, especially middle school boy readers. What is that novel? When all it had was like a little stick figure at the bottom. I don't know why, I can't remember the title. The Wimpy Kid. It's why The Wimpy Kid. And the only thing different on that page is that there's a little visual figure, right? So what we know is that the way to activate those areas of the brain, especially for boys, they work for all readers, but really for boys, is to activate the visual part, right? Anything that has, if we're teaching them to read, and it's why Fundations is so important. So if we're looking at cat, we're not just saying cat, because that's auditory, we're going cat, right? So anytime you can activate different senses, we know it'll help in the visual coding that occurs as well.
Great. I may not be today, but at some point I'd love to hear your thoughts, or maybe a future board member would like to hear your thoughts on like what good would look like as in the years to come as we sort of implement changes. Would we expect total parity or slight improvement?
Yeah.
I'd be curious about that.
My goal is always parity.
Okay, good. And then on the math, you mentioned a curriculum adoption. I'm curious how our curriculum here compares to middle schools in our neighboring districts and how well it's suiting and preparing our kids for high school math.
So we have a neighboring district that I may have just come from that is in the middle of a massive middle school and high school math adoption right now. What happened when Common Core rolled out it kind of nationwide, elementary curriculum kind of got there a lot sooner with what we call the mathematical practices, this productive struggle, having conversations, showing multiple ways. You see that, and you see that with our Eureka Math down at what we have in K5. Then at the middle school and the high school curriculums were really late to the game. And so we have one called Go Math. That's pretty standard that many districts adopted. Right now at the state level, they just released an entire new math framework with a recommitment to these mathematical practices. But the state is looking at putting new textbooks on the board adopted list. It's something, there aren't a ton out there, but there are some. Illustrative math, Eureka Squared, Desmos, that have really been not just a sticker put on, but really have been developed from the ground up around these mathematical practices.
So it's not about going away from Common Core, it's about finding better ways to deliver it.
Yep. Okay. Absolutely.
All right. No other questions?
Oh, big ideas.
Great, thank you very much. Moving on then to item R10, 2425, COVID public comment protocols for board meetings. Dr. Wilds.
Oh, good, me again. A lot of me tonight. So, Diane, I don't know if you can pop up there, kind of some items for for the discussion tonight. So, one of the things that we have noticed that we're slightly out of alignment with the city's public comments, and we now have 3 ways to do public comments. Sorry, that's the last one. That's the cell phone. The first way, obviously, is in person. The second way is to go online, fill out a form. We provide that to you all right up to the moment of the meeting. But then the third way, obviously, do you want to join via Zoom? So what we're recommending tonight is a shift in that protocol back to non-COVID times. We don't want to go all the way back because pre-COVID, the only way to do a public comment was to show up here in person. And we don't think that's fair for the community. We want to make sure that we adhere to the spirit of the Brown Act requirements. And so if you look down at the bottom, it says, what we are recommending is to keep, obviously we keep our YouTube channel. People can watch us live during the meeting. But we also want to make sure that there is online forms. We want to take off, currently you have to do the online form by 12 o'clock. We want to take off that requirement. We want to allow people to make public comments right up to the time of the meeting. And then we want to make sure that those written comments just aren't posted on our website. We want to make sure that they are actually part of the public record, meaning they become part of the minutes to this meeting. And so any public comments that are gone on, whether they're done in person, they're memorialized in the video, but anything that comes in, we want to add to the minutes of the meeting. And we want to give Dinah one last thing to try to shuffle around over there. So no, you're good. You're good, Dinah. Thank you. So if you'll scroll down, the first is just kind of the Brown Act requirements. Well, that's what the law says. The second area is what we currently do now. We have all of the COVID protocols that are in there. And if you scroll down to the second page, you can see this is the pre-COVID, and then what we're recommending on move forward.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have any questions on this?
No.
Jen? No? All right. If there's no questions, whoops, I think that means we can move on to consent. And I think my friend might have had a question or a thought.
I'd like to pull for discussion off of consent item B 38-2425, the stipends for after-school sport coaches.
Great. And protocol-wise, does that mean we would discuss this now? Do we need to vote on that?
Take a vote on everything else, and
I'd
then
also like to make a motion to approve consent with that addition, or with that edit to the agenda.
Were we pulling it off to have a conversation about it, Maggie?
Yeah.
Okay. But we won't vote on it tonight then?
We're going to vote on consent right now, and then we're going to have a conversation about this one right after.
And then will that go back onto, we could still?
and then just vote on that one individually.
So moved.
I have a motion now.
Yes, I second it.
Thank you for the second, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. So now we've approved consent items other than that one item. And I think we can just move on to discuss B 38-2425, stipends for after-school sports coaches.
Thanks, Board and Dr. Wilds, for this opportunity to talk about it. I was recently discussing with parents their worries about their kids getting cut from sports. And I truly believe if you can't play a sport in middle school, especially in the competitive environment of the South Bay, you're never going to get that shot. You're never going to make, Maricosta volleyball soccer unless, you're going to college on that scholarship for D1 athletics. So middle school is a prime opportunity for us to offer up that opportunity for kids to play sports and to experience new things. And I just want to have a conversation because I've heard that this past season was particularly rough for football. Like 37 kids came out for the surf team. I don't know how many made that yet, but it's coming down, I think, to a capacity that we have to get coaches out there. So I'd like to understand a little bit more about how we're paying for coaches, how we find coaches, and how we can increase opportunities for middle school sports.
Yeah. So feel free to jump in because you've been here longer than I have. But we want to thank the PTO because the PTO is the main funder of this program. In the 23-24 school year, they donated $6,000 to pay for coaching stipends as well as ref fees. And you'll see this item right here. We want to increase in this MOU, this agreement increases our reffing fee. It is incredibly difficult to find referees in the South Bay right now. And this gentleman also refs for, I know, Redondo and some Costa after school as well. So Nate Vasquez really works hard to make sure that and some of our coaches are what we call walk-on coaches, right? We have our surf team, our volleyball. Those are coaches that we pay from outside. And then again, we're a smaller school district. So oftentimes we're having to contract out for coaching.
In the past, we've also had, beside an A team and a B team, we had a C team when there were multiple students that wanted to participate, but that would also mean the neighboring school district would have to have a C team as well.
I think it's worth our while just to investigate what other middle schools do around the South Bay. At some schools it could be sixth graders are on a C team and they rotate into A, B teams, so they at least have a chance to be on a team, and maybe they don't play their sixth grade year, but it gives them that chance to be a part of a team and learn the sport. I think there's a lot of different variations of what it could look like. knowing that not all schools have the same setup, but the fact that we can get kids onto a team, I think is just a really important thing that we can offer.
When I talked to Nate, and he said one of the biggest challenges is obviously just space, right? You know, field space, gym space, those kinds of things. But he had a very also definitive list that he wanted to expand sports. You know, we have a fairly finite number of sports and athletic that we offer. He wanted to bring boys lacrosse, he wanted to bring girls lacrosse, bringing dance, right? And then you can use the NPR room and cheer. We could also do esports. We have esports is a wildly popular sport, and I know in both Manhattan Beach Middle School as well as Redondo Middle School. Yeah. And by the way, can lead to scholarships at UCLA. Yes. Yeah.
Offer it up to the board if anyone else has any comments. Otherwise, I'm happy to close it and make a motion to vote. But if anyone else has a comment.
Well, I agree with you, Maggie. I've been a big proponent of like social sports for a long time. I think we should really, I mean, we could, you know, we have to stop and create it and think about how we want it, but how to bring, you know, the fields, the beach, the opportunities we do have, and then maybe invite our neighboring schools to also think about those things. We are not alone. You know, when we had Adams Middle School, we had 95 kids come out for volleyball, and we took 24. It's just like, it's heartbreaking. So, yeah, it'd be great to figure out other non-cut.
We're looking at different facilities. You know, we've got Clark Field just a walk away, right? Can we offer baseball and softball, right? That's just kind of maybe starting to think out a little bit outside the box.
Well, Maggie and I'd be happy to help.
Good. What can you coach? Sounds like volleyball.
Not coach, but anymore.
I heard Maggie is a great soccer coach.
Soccer expertise.
Maybe hockey. What?
All right.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve B-38-2425.
So moved.
Thank you for the second, Jen.
That is the second.
Yeah. I'm just noting that for Dinah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Item passes. Okay, moving on to board action. First item, S18-2425, approval of revised Board of Education meeting dates. Dr. Wiles.
Yes, so approval is recommended for the February 12th meeting to be changed to February 20th to accommodate the winter holiday week, formerly known as Ski Week. And then we also want to make sure that we are transparent and list our exact two dates that are the two required meetings that are in June. As a reminder, 2 meetings have to occur in the month of June as a requirement of the LCAP and the budget adoption cycle, and we want to go ahead and get those on the calendar so that they don't conflict with 8th grade promotion. Staff recommend you approve these dates.
Any comments or questions? Doug, do you have any concerns with those dates?
That's not my problem.
I'm out of here.
All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Kathy. Thank you, Doug. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Business B42-2425, actuarial valuation study based on the interim measurement approach on other post-employment benefits in accordance with the Government Accounting Standards Board Statement Number 75, GASB 75. Ms. Montalvo.
Thank you. This is the compliance piece. This report is done every year, one on the actuarial study and then on a rollover. So we're on the actuarial study this year, and I'm recommended that the board approve the plan as posted.
Are you sure that wasn't a reading test?
I was like, actuarial is a very good word.
Any questions?
No.
None for me.
No. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Doug, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, B43-2425, contract special education staffing services. Ms. Gluck.
It is recommended that the Board of Education ratify the contract with Cross Country Education to provide credentialed special day, to provide staffing for special education.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
None.
Hearing no questions, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for the second, Doug. All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. B44-2425, contract Sprigio. Ms. Gluck.
It is recommended for the purchase of Sprigio. Dr. Wilds just did the presentation. I think it'd be a great addition to Hermosa Valley School.
Thank you, Ms. Gluck. Are there any questions? No? Thank you for the presentation earlier, Dr. Wilds. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy.
Second.
Thank you, Maggie, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Motion passes. B45, 2425, resolution number 05, 2425 for the adoption of purchases through the California Multiple Award Schedule for new flooring, wall materials, and labor at Valley School. CMAS contract number 422041002. Ms. Montalvo.
Thank you. Approval is recommended for the CMAS contract for the purchase of materials and labor for the project described below. This project is in lieu of a claim due to the range damage in February, the leak on the NPR stage and cabinetry. This will be a reimbursable claim. We will get the majority of our money back from ASCIP.
Good job, Paula.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions? If not, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. Second to Doug. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I know, I'm getting all my motions in.
B46, 2425, contract agreement for technology equipment, hotspots. Mr. Hernandez.
Good evening, board, and thank you. Approval is recommended for the renewal of the contract with T-Mobile for education to provide hotspots for students in need and internet access in their homes that don't have it. The board is, we had previously had the hotspots for coverage for students during COVID, and that's when the contract was originally started, so we want to continue that and renew it for those students that are in need right now. Thank you.
Is that something we make available to, that everyone knows that we
So
have?
this is for students who are homeless,
Okay.
or have homeless status.
All right. Other questions, comments?
And so we know that they are a homeless student, or is it any student without access to wireless that would have?
These are verified homeless students, students that are homeless.
But if for some reason, I'm just unclear, post-COVID, was there legislation put in place that if a student has a need for internet, are we obligated to provide that?
Yes.
Even if, regardless of housing status?
Yes.
And so they fill
we'll
out
provide that,
something, or?
yeah. We don't go out and check to make sure. If a family comes to us, a student comes to us and tells us they're in need, then we'll make sure they get one off of this contract.
Great.
Great.
I'm in favor.
No other questions? Look for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Maggie, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. B47, 2425, approval of HBEF Hearts of Hermosa facility use request. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, so you'll remember back in August, we changed board policy 1330 to allow the use of school facilities to have a very specific request to serve alcoholic beverages. So this is in accordance with that change. If a entity is asking for a facility use and they have indicated that alcohol will be present, then that event is brought to you for formal action. And so this request has been made by the Hermosa Beach Education Foundation to hold their annual Hearts of Hermosa on the Vista campus on May 17th, 2025. Staff recommend you approve this request.
Any questions?
I don't have a question, but just a comment. We talked about it in August, but I'm sure Quinn in particular will second that this has been a long time coming. So it's awesome that we're finally going to do this. And this is where Hearts of Hermosa should be, and hopefully will be for a long time coming. So it's very exciting that we're finally going to make this happen. So thank you, everyone, for the hard work to get it done.
This will save the Ed Foundation quite a bit of money in the event, and that will
Yes.
just direct money back to kids.
Yeah, there were many years ago I sat here as they tried to raise the fees and yelled at the city council about that. So I'm glad to be done with them in this regard.
Okay. I note the specific date here. Is this an approval for a specific date, or like if they need to move it, does that just happen?
It's an approval for the use of the facility for this purpose. If they had to change, then most likely I will just update you on a Friday update. I don't think we need to bring that back for action. But we've worked with the Ed Foundation. They've done a walkthrough. We've done a walkthrough with our facilities. We don't believe this date will change, but if it does, I don't believe we need to take, you're approving the event to happen.
Great. And I'd just note that they are having a killer year so far. Thank you to everybody in our parent community for supporting HBEF. That money is absolutely critical to support the expanded, enriched program offering that we have here. So thank you to all the people at HBEF, and thank you to all the parents that support them.
Question, I know previous Hearts of Hermosa, there's been security present. How does this, and obviously they're going to take on liability for anything, but what does that happen with neighborhood, sound, security? How does all that?
So my understanding is they still have to go to the city for obviously a noise permit. They have to follow all the same regulations. I believe it's a 10 p.m. noise shutdown. But they will, when we walked, they will provide the same level of security. They'll have, they will also bring all of their own maintenance to do cleanup or after the cruise. So this is not creating a burden on our current staff.
Okay. With that, I'd be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Doug.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Last item, P16, 2425, new position for a classified confidential position for food service supervisor, transaction and revision of the management confidential salary schedule. Dr. Wild.
Yeah, so this is a newly created part-time position within the cafeteria fund budget. So it's separate and apart from the general fund, separate and apart from our supplementals. This is their own kind of budget. The food service supervisor will oversee, plan, and coordinate various food service operations, and this role involves managing activities in collaboration with other staff, district departments, and the external agencies that monitor our food services to make sure that everything is running smoothly. This position also makes Paula very happy because now Paula will be able to get some of her life back to be able to do her duties. So staff recommends you approve this newly created position.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Doug.
Second.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. With that, we are now at Board Member Roundtable. Do any of my colleagues have any comments for Board Member Roundtable?
None from me.
Kathy? Jen?
Yep. I have a question off of, I don't know if this is Susan question. I'm trying to find the sports calendars to go attend middle school sports games. Is there an easy way to track them all?
There is. The best way is on our website, and I'll send it, put it in the Friday update for you all. He has a separate page that Eileen has created for him.
Thank.
Sending out a newsletter. Are you not on his newsletter?
I don't think I'm on his newsletter. Is there a newsletter?
In the new week, if you
In the new one,
the new
yeah.
weekly,
So,
it'll be all at the bottom, but we can also give you access to the page, and you'll see.
I just want to put it all in. Thank you.
We can also give you. They're also on the HBCSD master calendar, so that they can pop up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie. Any other items for Roundtable? If not, it is 7:08, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Doug.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy, for the second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.